Dele Alli, we've got you here, Flav, so we thought it only fair to talk about him. Scored a goal for England at the weekend, apparently. He's been better in recent weeks. Now, we've titled this, is he back to his best? But I don't think, to be fair, we've seen his best because he's still very, very young. I think it's more a case of whether he was suffering from a European Championships hangover or whatever. He didn't start the season particularly well. It now looks like he's back to at least being a young, exciting talent again.
Yeah, I think that's fair. He is a young, exciting talent. I think the hype around him is excessive, and a lot's going to be expected of him at England. I think he'll be able to play his game at Spurs and kind of get on with it. But obviously, we've seen with so many players in the past, when they get put up to international level, John Barnes was one. Even Rooney for a long time.
Why do you think it's excessive?
He's not ready. He's not ready for the pressure that could be put on him. People will see the goal against Crystal Palace last year and think this geezer's a wonder kid. He is. Don't get me wrong. He has potential.
Well, he is. So is he a wonder kid or not?
Right. Look, the fact he is
a wonder kid.
Yeah, you can see the reputation, but his performances across the season are probably not as good as his reputation currently would have you believe.
Yeah.
And there's a long way for Dele Alli to go, and I worry about the press attention and the supporters' expectation, especially when he's in an England shirt, to deliver. Because across the season, I've seen him be indifferent for significant parts of the season.
Right. This is the thing we have with young players, Sam, is that they're not allowed to be anything less than absolutely fucking stellar once the world accepts that they are these great players, and he's always going to have those dips.
You're looking like in Portugal, they always seem to get these kids who come through and just are incredible, and then get like Renato Sanchez, one of the most recent examples, because they're less out of the spotlight. Whereas, I thought Dele Alli for his first season had a pretty fucking good season.
He did.
He might not have been 10 out of 10 in every game, but he's a kid. He won't be.
Yeah.
Like Rashford had a really good season, but he was pretty much great in every game. Martial had downward points, but is it just the English press and the English media that puts this intense scrutiny on a young player's game that's unprecedented in other countries?
Well, I'm sure James can talk about Trevor Sinclair or something in this regard.
One of the great players.
Dan and
I love you use social club each week to go, QPR player's going to think of. You just go Stephen Coulker because he was on loan at you last year.
No, but this is it, isn't it? I think you're right. I think that the press particularly, they love to go, wow, look at this player. Oh, imagine the next tournament when he's unleashed and he's going to be amazing. It's actually a thing that people have been talking about Jurgen Klopp. Obviously, in the last week, it's been his first year anniversary at Liverpool, and he's basically said about Liverpool, the problem is that there isn't a culture of winning, so he's got to be on top of his players because there aren't these players who are naturally used to handling the pressure. And this is the problem with Dele Alli, is that what happens with England is we get a good talented player, they throw him into the England team and go and be England's best player, whereas these guys have got to, you've got to know what it is to be successful.
The problem is Dele Alli's the way he influences a game isn't always immediately obvious, right? So when the aspects of his game that are beyond these years are his movement. He's pulling defenders out of position. He's running in behind. He's knowing when to run and find space. All of that stuff. If you're expecting him to just light up a game and score a world-class goal, that stuff probably won't come. And the good stuff he does do goes unnoticed. It's functional, useful stuff on a football pitch.
How old is he, by the way?
20, 21?
Yeah, he's 20.
20.
But I think, I don't mind us believing in our players. It's the backlash that's excessive, I think.
Yeah.
Like, Rooney was great when he came on the scene. I still think he's quite a good player. We'll get onto that at some point. Rashford is a really good player. That's okay to think people are good players.
No, absolutely.
Ali, you've just said, it's like his movement and his touch are beyond his years. Yeah. He's a wonder kid, but he's not a wonder kid. I think we're all in this kind of weird mess where we're scared of being excited about a player because we're worried about the backlash. Why don't we just chill out with the backlash and just go, this guy's good. Oh, he's had one bad game. Don't worry. He'll still be good. Just stick with him. But he's got
You're 100%
people to stop being pricks, essentially. That's all it is. Just leave it. Just stop being a prick. Don't write that article. Yeah. Don't tweet that bullshit.
Just the Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Listen to the lyrics.
Not now.
I'm looking at the man in the mirror. You know, it's basically talking to yourself. Change starts at home, Flav. So if you want people to stop being a prick.
Do you think with Dele Alli, because you're talking about how Wayne
being a
Rooney's...
prick.
Stop floating over there. Right. So we're talking about Rooney on the way down. If Ali's... Is that an issue for him that he's got to step into this gap that's being left behind Wayne Rooney?
I think that's the narrative.
And you're saying that he's not naturally that person who's going to get a goal every game.
There is, because there will be... If he has an absolute stinker for England, people will go...
Which he will.
Well, he will eventually. He will, you know. Yeah. If not this week, then next week or whatever. Not next week because there's no international games, of course. But in the future, this is the problem that we have. And I could come back to this: is that let's say he's 20, 21, whatever. How many footballers carry the entire hopes and dreams of their nation at 21 years old and do it successfully? And people can throw examples out there because someone say Neymar's been doing it for Brazil. Well, Brazil have been pretty shit, haven't they, in that period? Let's be fair.
To their
but also
very special players.
But exactly, you're talking about one or two in a generation who are good enough to do this. It's very, very rare that someone bursts into the scene at 19, 20 and then has a sustain and goes on to be the absolute. You're talking about Messi, Ronaldo.
Yeah, he's not in
Yeah,
that
Messi
bracket,
can't do
is
it for
it?
his
He's not in that
Argentina.
bracket, but I'll tell you what, he's had. He was at MK Dons and played a lot of games, which I think's helped his development. I think he's a cracking player, and I think then you talk about the narrative because people are sick of Rooney, and this is such an easy group for England. And watching the Malta game, which was tough, it was Rooney does slow it down a bit, so it's geared up for this next game coming. Ali has a stormer, he then scores 2 against Scotland, and then he's the Messiah. We build him up way too much, and then we talk about that backlash. We go to the World Cup, it doesn't really work out because he's good, but he's not that good.
He could do
and then
that.
He's a failure.
He could
which
do
is
that.
nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. That's spot on. And he can do those things. He could score 2 goals against Scotland. He has that in him, right? But the one part of his game which he needs to work on currently is the most obvious and it's the most evident when things don't go right. So he's
the attitude.
No. There's an issue there definitely with his attitude. But if you leave that aside for a second, just on the ball, sometimes his pass selection he holds on to it a little bit too long, and he probably isn't as effective passing the ball as he could be. And when he loses it, you see it. He's playing in an area of the pitch that's low percentage, so he's going to have to try things that are unlikely to come off, and
That's where
that will come with experience.
Yeah,
exactly. So hopefully, because it's beneficial for me as a Spurs fan for him to continue to develop, but it will be harder for him to do that with this level of expectation. So yes, he is back to his best, but with that comes its own problem.
Look at Raheem Sterling. Look at him.
QPR.
It's he was being built up at Liverpool, and then obviously became public enemy number 1 with the way he left and he moved to City, and everyone wanted him to fail. Everyone wanted him to be shit. Now he's starting to perform again fine. Look, he's a tremendous player, and I think he's one of them that will be when he finishes his career. He's got the potential for us to look back and go, he was one of them players that we were discussing there. He might do, but he's a phenomenal.
I'd happily run like a twat.
Yes, I can't stand people who run like twats.
Yeah, get him out. Get him out of the team.
No, it's but this is the thing. Everyone built him up. It's just ridiculous. It's like we have to have these players who get put on pedestals to be knocked down, and then we bring the next one up. Whereas Sterling's a great example of it. Is that now he's just getting on with his football and getting on about the business of being really, really good at the football. Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if? And this is again, I'm going to show on Liverpool in again, but England should start to develop a culture of, let's not have one guy who's going to fix all of England's problems at any given time. Why not have look at the Spain side that dominated. You know, you could say that David Villa was sensational in that, but like Torres was sensational in that. Iniesta, Xavi, the team was more than the sum of the parts. There wasn't a Zidane in that side, although you could say maybe Iniesta or whatever.
But yeah, you're right.
That England, it's got to stop being about this one guy who is the next. Well, this guy's going to be the next Jeff Hurst. This guy's going to be the next.
England have gone through the periods where we had like the golden generation, where we had all the players. We had that team where there wasn't one individual, and it still fucked up.
Yeah.
So now it's come to the point where we just go in cycles.
They were a team of pricks, though, weren't they? That's the problem. Is that that's the mentality issue. And that probably comes from the management on the way the country's structured or whatever. Is that there needs to be a team first.
Yeah, but do you think this generation of England players coming through now is good enough for that to not be one person who's going to be head and shoulders above everyone else, whether that be Dele Alli or Rashford? Is that team going to be strong enough to be that sort of unit?
Potentially, because again, well, look, it's very early days in the Liverpool Klopp thing, but at the minute, you know, you're seeing players that you would look at the Jordan Henderson stuff. Everyone all of a sudden is going, actually, Jordan Henderson's not a bad footballer, isn't he?
I would like a good footballer playing alongside Wayne Rooney.
Well, exactly, but what the point is that I think because there isn't a Steven Gerrard or a Frank Lampard, there's no one of that talent in that England setup anymore. Potentially, Ali, you know, I think he's very Steven Gerrard-like in what he's able to do with the football. But you've got a good group of just really good footballers there that if you could get them all pulling in the same direction, you actually might find that the overall benefits.
You just need Gareth Southgate to lead it.
No comments. But yeah,
you said yourself, like when you talk about Spain, it was about all those players as a team. The management obviously played a part in it, but they had an identity of the way that Spanish football's played. I'm quite interested to see an England team that does have just all the Spurs guys and all the Liverpool guys. They're all used to that pressing, that high intensity thing, which is what English football often has been about. They all understand it, and again, then it doesn't become about one player, it becomes about six.
But yeah, exactly. England and the press just love the idea, though, of having the guy that has the name on the shirt, you know, the someone that they can hold up there and cast in bronze and then basically tear down and smack with the shoes and all that when it hits the deck, or when we get knocked out of a major tournament, like, you know what I mean? That's the thing that the culture of this country is set up for that, because it is all about it is about the guy, you know, holding the World Cup up and Gaza doing his moments of magic in 1996 and all that kind of stuff. Like they like the story of it too much, whereas hopefully that just gets fucked off and Dele Alli can just be good at the football.
Yeah,
and we better be.
Well, he better be, otherwise he's fucked, isn't he? Like,
He's
going to be back at...
I'll be straight on Twitter.
He's going to be at AFC Wimbledon, isn't he? Yeah. Won't be accepted there. Yeah, but yeah, Leslie, thoughts, if you wouldn't mind, on the whole Dele Alli thing. You know, for a start, where is his ceiling in terms of ability, and do you think he'll be given the freedom to actually be able to live up to his ability because of the natural pressure that we put on from Spurs fans, from England fans, etc., etc.? Thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to the Ball Street YouTube channel.